I ran away with the CEO's son. Now only his company has the cure to save our child. You ever steal a billionaire's only son and run across 3 state lines with a dying child in the back seat? Yeah, me neither until last month. And let me tell you, nothing makes you reconsider your life choices faster than changing a toddler's oxygen tank in a gas station bathroom while being hunted by corporate lawyers. When I first met Adrian Whitmore, I didn't even know who he was. All I saw was a man with a nervous smile, wearing a too expensive coat and sitting alone in a free clinic in Southside Detroit. Our eyes locked. I was volunteering that day, fresh off a night shift, running mostly on caffeine and trauma from the pediatric ICU. He looked out of place, like someone who had never been that close to real suffering, and yet, somehow, he didn't flinch when a kid coughed blood beside him. He was holding a tiny, flushed child in his arms. I recognized the signs immediately: shallow breathing, bluish tint to her lips. She's septic, I said, grabbing for the portable oxygen and not waiting for permission. She's my niece, Adrian lied, but I wasn't paying attention to that part. I was already yelling for a stretcher. Her name was Daisy. She was 2 years old, and she was mine. Well, part mine. Biologically, she belonged to me and the man now standing frozen by her gurney. The man whose last name could buy a pharmaceutical empire. The man who'd walked out of my apartment 3 years ago and disappeared into the luxury of being a Whitmore. Now he was back, and he was begging me to run. Turns out Daisy had a rare genetic disease. The only treatment was an experimental therapy being developed by Surprise Whitmore Biotech. The drug was in trial phase. Only family could request compassionate access. But Adrian wasn't out. Not really. His father still held the keys, and Adrian, he was being watched. If they know about her, they'll bury it. She's bad press. Proof their perfect son was gay, reckless, and worse, had a child out of wedlock with a nobody. I was the nobody. He wasn't wrong. So we ran. A beat-up Honda Civic, some cash Adrian pulled out of a hidden account, and Daisy in the back with a rotating schedule of meds, ice packs, and lullabies sung through tears. We slept in motels, shared single beds, and fought over which gas stations were clean enough to change a feeding tube. I wanted to hate him for leaving, for not calling, for showing up too late. But every time Daisy stirred and whimpered "Papa" in her sleep and I saw how Adrian's hands trembled, I knew he'd never stopped loving her. Or me. Night 17. We were in Kansas, low on money, high on adrenaline. I was exhausted. Adrian was folding Daisy's onesie with surgeon-level precision while I stared at my cracked phone, rereading the same rejection from the hospital trial committee. Denied. Again. She won't make it another week without the serum, I whispered. He sat beside me on the bed, his hand slowly inching toward mine. I can get into the lab, he said. I know where they keep the prototype doses. But once I go back, there's no more hiding. And if you get caught, my father will crucify me. I know, he exhaled. But I'd rather burn with you than live safe without her. We kissed that night. Not like before. Not the careless lust of med school parties or backseat trysts. This was heavier, older. A kiss made of missed birthdays, NICU nightmares, and the scent of baby powder clinging to our skin. It wasn't pretty. It was real. Day 23. Adrian walked into Whitmore Tower with a forged badge and a duffel bag full of syringes wrapped in ice packs. He didn't come out. They said it was theft, treason, breach of contract. They threatened to charge me too. But they couldn't undo what he'd done. The dose worked. Daisy's fever broke within hours. Her little lungs expanded. Her heartbeat stabilized. I held her and sobbed in the hospital corridor, surrounded by strangers and cheap plastic chairs. Adrian was gone. I thought that was the end. But Whitmores are slippery. 3 weeks later, a man in a dark coat handed me an envelope. Inside was a court order, custody papers, and a letter. You once told me love wasn't always about staying. Sometimes it's about risking everything to make sure the people you love survive. I couldn't stay, but I made sure she would. I made sure you would. I'm sorry I ran. I'm coming back. He did. He walked into the courtroom like a soldier returning from war. Bruised, fired, stripped of his titles, but free. He told the truth. He named Daisy. He named me. And then, in front of a judge and 6 lawyers from his father's side, he reached for my hand and said, "I want them, both of them, and I'm not asking." It's been 7 months. We have a new apartment in Chicago. It's not big, but Daisy has her own room. Her oxygen machine is a backup now, not a lifeline. I'm back in the ER. Adrian's working at a non-profit coding treatment access platforms for low-income clinics. We argue sometimes. We cry sometimes. But every morning, I wake up to him curled behind me. His hand on my chest, Daisy's stuffed giraffe wedged between our pillows. And I think, maybe running was the bravest thing we ever did. Maybe love, real love, isn't about perfection. Maybe it's about showing up even when it hurts. Even when you're scared. Even when the only thing left to hold on to is each other. And that's enough. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.